Hello everyone, I am Becca, the conservative Filipina. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'd like to share my thoughts on Charlie Kirk. Actually, a gentleman left a comment on my comment section asking me about my thoughts on him, and I wanted to share those, but I also wanted to make sure that I waited until after he was laid to rest. Now that it's been a couple of weeks, I'll go ahead and share my thoughts. If you're interested in hearing that, please keep on watching. So it's been a couple of weeks since Charlie Kirk lost his life in a very tragic way, and I am still in shock at what happened to him. Actually, when we found out this sad news, my husband and I, we were on our lanai. It was late afternoon. This was a couple of hours after it happened. He was on his phone and he got this notification, and he kind of looked at me and paused for a minute, and I said, "What happened?" He said, "Something awful happened," and he said, "Charlie Kirk got shot." And my first reaction was, I hope it's nothing serious. I hope he makes it. But this was a couple of hours after it happened, so that hope did not last very long, because a couple of minutes later he got another notification and he said, he did not make it. He's gone. We were both in shock. Like, we didn't really know what to say. I was at loss for words, and I was immediately on my phone. I was trying to look for more information. I was like, what happened? Like, where are his bodyguards? Like, what happened? But you just come to the realization that he is gone. And yeah, I was so saddened by this news, and I couldn't believe it. Now, even though I don't know the guy personally, I've seen many of his campus debates, campus tours, and from those, I can tell that Charlie Kirk is a man of good character. I've always admired how intelligent he was. He was a good communicator. He was very eloquent, very quick on his feet, and I like how he handled some of this heated debates. He allowed people to express themselves, to ask questions. He asked people questions, and he had this habit which I thought was very interesting. Like, when these debates get heated, he would put his mic down to kind of stop himself from over talking someone, and he would allow people to express their opinion. Because sometimes when people are in that situation, some people can't really not like him, that he's very quick on his feet. He can really articulate his opinions. Some people have a hard time, so he would even help people to articulate their opinions. That was very admirable. One thing that I really liked about him is the fact that he was very passionate about his faith in Jesus Christ, and he shared the gospel to everyone, wherever he could, whenever he could. And Charlie was very passionate about his beliefs, his opinions, and he was very loud about it. He went to this campus tours to express those opinions in a very public platform. Not just those tours, but he was a very active social media person. He was all over the place. A lot of podcasts, he's got his own podcast. He goes and, as a guest to other people's podcasts. In fact, one time I was kind of shocked when I saw him in that one kind of, in my opinion, trashy podcast, that whatever podcast. He went there to have this conversation with those people, and I thought, wow, he would even go there. Like, he was willing to talk to anybody. That was Charlie Kirk. And I think, his passing is not just a big loss to his family and friends, but to a lot of people all over the world. A lot of people feel that grief and that sadness. Filipinos were crying, praying. South Koreans, a lot of Japanese flew to South Korea to join them to remember his life, to celebrate his life. It's a sad event, but for Christians, we also know that even though he is absent in the body, he is present with the Lord. So that's the one big thing that we look to, instead of just focusing on the grief. I also think that his passing is a big loss to the young men of this generation, because Charlie Kirk was a good role model to the young men of this generation. A lot of men are lost, don't really have someone that they could look up to, and I think Charlie Kirk was a good role model, and it still is, even though he's gone. You know, he encouraged the youth, specifically the men, the young men, to have a purpose in life. He would say things like, get married, have kids, take care of your families, get involved in your community, go out, vote, be heard, express your opinion, talk to people. He was that kind of person. And what's, again, admirable about him is that he practiced what he preached. Charlie Kirk was a very brave person. He not only shared the gospel of Jesus Christ whenever he could, he was also very vocal about his stance on certain issues. And I think a lot of people agreed with him, but there's also a good number of people that disagreed with him, and some, probably a lot of people, even hated him for the things that he stood for, especially on the topics of marriage. He was against same-sex marriage. The topics of abortion, he is pro-life, on the topics of gender identity and LGBTQ movement. I think a lot of people really hated him for the things that he said about that. Now, he really started conversations that were not only interesting, but were thought-provoking conversations. Conversations that people would rather not talk about, but I think it's important to talk about. And as a society, there's this change where, yes, there is freedom of speech, but it's also becoming more and more difficult to really express opinions because people will attack you for it. And being online, you'll see that. And it reminds us that freedom of speech, freedom of discourse can be costly. And in this case, Charlie Kirk lost his life for it. I also think that this is a tragedy on top of tragedy. The way he lost his life, it is tragic. The fact that his children will be growing up without a father, I think that is very sad. And the fact that there's a good number of people who celebrated the way he lost his life. That to me was shocking. As people, if you're a decent person, no matter how you felt about him, whether you agreed or disagreed with him, the fact that he lost his life in that very tragic way, if you're a decent person, you'd at least recognize that this is sad. But no, some people celebrated it. That's the sad part of it. If you're following this story, you will see that there's so many news and information available online, circling the internet about this story. And to be very honest, it's starting to get really hard to believe anything anymore. Like, I don't know which one is truth. I don't know which one is lies. It's just gotten so confusing. There's so many allegations, accusations, conspiracy theories, people analyzing this, analyzing that. Because again, nowadays we have videos. Now with more information available online and more people talking about it or continuing to talk about it, I can't really blame why people are asking questions. Because it's suspicious. Something seems off. I don't know what it is, but some of this information, I don't really know what to make of it. First of all, the direction of the bullet, where it really came from. Another thing is that nowadays people are also questioning his wife. People are digging into things. I think initially people don't want to talk about it because it's kind of a sensitive issue. I wasn't even sure if I should even mention this, but I was curious. So I kind of started looking into it as well. And you know what? Some of this information about his wife and her connections to people and the things that she did before they got married or before they met, I don't know, it's kind of off. Like, I would like to think this is just conspiracies, but the problem is there are records out there and a lot of this information not looking good, to be very honest. Like, it's starting to feel like something shady happened. I don't want to think that is the case, but again, the information is out there. Now, there's one very vocal person talking about this. She wasn't talking about the wife, but she's tying this tragedy to Israel. I'm talking about Candace Owens. Now, when it comes to Candace, I'm a little bit like hesitant because even though she won't admit it, I can see based on her podcast and the things she said in the past. I mean, based on her past statements, this is my personal opinion, I can tell that she could be a little biased. She doesn't seem like she's a big fan of Israel for sure. And in this case, she's also insinuating that there is a connection between what happened to Charlie and the Israeli government. Now, again, all of these are allegations. And people were, asking her, like, are you going to provide any evidence? Where's the receipts of all of your statements? And I thought she's probably not going to be able to provide any. And then she did. She released all of these text messages between Charlie and some people that he was speaking to prior to his passing. And honestly, it doesn't look good in Israel. And I think a lot of people don't really want to accept this. Some people are also thinking this is probably not legit. I don't know. Is it legit? Is it not? We don't know. But if this is legit, I mean, it doesn't look good in Israel. And you know what? It doesn't look good in our government either. So, with all of this information available online, there's one thing I've definitely, concluded. This world is run by very few powerful people, the elites. And all of us that are not part of that group, we're just extras in this big play. And they are running the world and we're just extras, okay? I don't think we will ever find out the truth. And yes, this world is definitely run by very few powerful people. And you gotta start asking yourself who's really in charge and who's really running this world. God is in control, but that does not mean he's running this world. It's starting to get very obvious that someone else is running this world. You probably know who it is. I'll leave this video here. If you have any comments you'd like to share, you are more than welcome to share that in my comment section below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on my next vlog. Bye, everyone.